We're gonna have a good day. We're gonna have a good day today because we're gonna get into cycles where our thoughts lead. Good morning, farm girl. Where our thoughts and a lot of things, some magic right in here. I wrote it down right here. See this little diagram? This little diagram for us to kind of start out with, as we have a thought that goes to emotion, behaviors, and physical sensation. These are cognitive behaviors that we have. And that's what we want to change when we're doing our identity, when we want to rewrite things and start living a better life. So I did a little one that I kind of took out of a book that I read. And it is a thought of, I hate my job. Okay. And then that goes to an emotion of sadness and frustration that creates behavior to stay in bed all day. That gives a physical sensation of sluggish and no energy. So basically, thoughts that are negative, that when we're doing things that we aren't aligned with, give us emotions that can create being sluggish. So here we are on week 2. And anyone who was listening the other day knows that on week 2, there's 2 days in every week, because there's just not 1 hour, it's just not enough time to explain everything. So we're going to be on week 2 talking about identity and self-awareness of who you really are. That's what we were talking about earlier this week on Tuesday, and to help build honest self-awareness. It's not enough time. That's right. But we have to do our little practice at work. So one of the things that we were to do, I asked for anybody listening. It's not, I don't want to call it like homework or anything, but we were going to, for week 2, is our objectives were to help build honest self-awareness, explore our identity stories, and label and shape choices. So exploring our identity stories. So these are stories that we writ, that we believe, just like here on days where I don't like my job, so I don't go to my job. It gives me emotional behavior and physical sensations. And we'll go over that again. So if somebody tells themselves and have a thought that I don't like my job, it's going to create an emotion of sadness and frustration. And that's going to create behavior of it's hard to get out of bed. And that's going to create a physical sensation of slugness. Remember, we were talking, if you lived on autopilot, we're going to go back to some of these rules right here. Sorry, I had to move here's how you know that you're on autopilot, right? You're on autopilot. I'll just tell you, when your days blur together, where you're functioning and not experiencing, where you're busy, rarely fulfilled, reacting and not choosing. That's a big one. Where you're spending your life reacting and not choosing. Your default is scrolling, binging, or numbing out. Your downtime doesn't restore you. Meaning that when you're resting, you don't wake up rested. When you're doing something for yourself, it doesn't feel like you've been restored. And you also avoid thinking about big questions. You feel like life is happening to you and not with you. You say yes out of habit. You don't journal. You rarely try new things. And you ignore the inner nudges. That's a big thing when we're ignoring our inner nudges. A lot of us in life, we put up with things like, next time I will say no. Next time I will do it this way. But it's hard to get out of patterns that we're in. That's where we were talking about cognitive dissonance. That's where we do things out of character, which are 2 different stories. And this is the last time I do this. I'll never do this again. This is something that I can't do. I got a little diagram here that I'm going to put up to the phone kind of to show you. I'll have this one up next week as we get into the future. But this is just a little diagram where people that do this for a living, that change your cognitive behavior, is we have ourselves that where we have prior attitudes that filter. We only see what we want to see. put it that way. We only see what we want to see. We're only going to tell ourselves the stories that we believe. And these lenses, these cognitive lenses we have, will ignore evidence, will ignore everything, because this is to our core what we believe. This is where we need to change some of our filters. And how you're going to do that in this type of in this situation is this thought here: I hate my job. I don't like my job, which is creating the emotion of sadness and frustration. You see what a thought can do? A thought can create emotions, behaviors, and physical sensations. Thoughts can make you sick. You can make yourself sick with bad thoughts, without a doubt. So what we want to do is challenge that thought. I hate my job. Why? What is it about my job that I hate? This is where you challenge your beliefs. What about this is making me sick? What do I do? This is where you start changing your mind. So when we last Tuesday, when I was asking you to write about being honest and self-aware, to write about that so we know where we can change what we need to change, so we can be better, so we don't have physical sensations that we don't want to live with, sluggish and no energy, right? Have you ever seen a little kid who had a chore? Go out and mow the lawn. Okay, and they go out, man, I don't want to do it. This isn't what I want to do. This mindset. Instead of, okay, I'll do the chores for the candy or whatever. So we have to recognize when we're living a life with intention that we're doing things that don't make us sluggish, that these are things that we want to do. You might be doing things where you can afford to have it hired out for you, or have it, or look at it a different way. We have to reframe our mind. We're always going to believe, here's one, we'll always be who we were once when until we change our mind. We'll always believe what we believed back then until we change our mind. So we have to work hard. I think the key insight is that some of the roles and positions we occupy and that we function with are all roles that we gradually got into. And we need to look at those. And some of them in our life we need to fix so we can identify what our role is as a person and how we would allow other people into our life and how they affect us. Sometimes we allow people into our life that don't belong. And that's where there's boundaries there. We could be related to them. We have to know how to control them instead of sticking with the same thought. Why is this person in my life? Why is this happening? So right now we're on our week 2. Identity and self-awareness. Who are you really? Our theme. You can't live intentionally if you don't know yourself. We're going to help build honest self-awareness and explore how your identity, stories, and labels shape choices. And that's important. Your identity, stories, and your labels. So I was asked you last Tuesday to identify, it's your fundamental belief of self, right? And it is different from what you do. When people ask, what you do, that's different from who you are. What you do is you could be a teacher, you could be a principal, you could be a laborer, you could work in a restaurant, you could be a cook, and that's fine. But who you are is more traits of your personality. You're somebody who volunteers, you have a sense of humor, you're somebody that reads, you're somebody that likes to absorb information. That's the difference between who you are and what you do. If what you do fits in with who you are, myself, who I am is I'm somebody that likes to build and do things. Therefore, I'm actually do that as a career. So what you want to do of this particular week as we get into the third week of next week, which we'll go back to this a little bit, is before next week is you're going to want to write out the script of who you are. And you're going to want to look at this cognitive example of your thoughts are creating emotions that create behaviors that create physical sensations. And what you need to challenge is this thought. It all starts in your mind. It takes, for an emotion to happen, there has to be a thought. For a behavior to happen, there has to be a thought and an emotion. I don't know if it needs both, but a thought is the first thing here. Thoughts lead to emotions, behaviors, and physical sensations. Bad thoughts can make you sick. You have to wake up with good thoughts. You have to wake up with blessings, with gratitude, etc. So with this 12 weeks, it's just part teaching, part coaching. But I want you to always understand that it's up here. It's in your mental head. One of the things that you can do is write a personal mission statement, a visionary statement to pull yourself out of the past, stand before the present right here. Don't jump into the future and just write out, who am I? And have it come from within. If you haven't done it, that's okay. You can still watch and participate without doing that. So one of the most healthy approaches to this right here of what we're talking about this second week of who we are, the best approach to controlling my thoughts and my emotions and behavior and physical sensation, right? You can control these three with just this one. That's right. You can control your behaviors, your physical sensations, your emotions just through your thoughts. And you have to acknowledge that you're always telling yourself a story and that you're the author of it. These stories come from your childhood. They come from your teen year. They can come from marriages, friendships, wherever they come from. Okay. And those stories you tell yourself, that's the lens you look at. Pretend these glasses are a cognitive lens. That means when I try to change my life and I put these on, I'm now filtering out the obvious. Sometimes we believe things that aren't even true because of what we experienced. We were there. We saw it. This is how we had to take our thought glasses off and we had to start rewriting. Okay. And we had to question the narratives regularly. Is that true about myself? Here's a story. A person dresses up really just nice for a party, and they go into a party that has a group of friends and everything. And throughout the party, they're getting complimented on your shoes. I love your jewelry. I love your watch, your dress, your hair looks nice tonight, and everything. And one person tells them they have a crooked tooth. They're going to go home all night fucked up because of the one comment of the crooked tooth. Why do we do that to ourselves? We do that to ourselves because it helps us. It helps give us the evidence that we need. We're going to put aside the 25 compliments we had that night. We're going to listen to the one insult. And that's what we do. When there's noise in your life and you're practicing and you're worried about what people say and who said what, and you're trying to make a challenge up against that person, all that does is set you up for failure as an individual instead of ignoring the noise, knowing that being great comes with insults. That's how you change that thought. You know, in order for me to look good, you're going to have one person find something. So you're going to now put that against yourself because you know that you can live with a crooked tooth, right? So you change that thought. So you didn't go home with a bad emotion. That's what we want to, that's where we need to stay open when we rewrite our stories. Because there's always going to be a jackass. So maybe some fucker that comes along that's going to say something that's going to try to trip you up. And some of them might be people that you know as you fulfill this course and get things done and you tell them about it, how it's doing. And what sucks is we might be related to them, might be married to these people, they might be our friends. But here's the thing. You have to stay true to your core and yourself of who you are. And you will gain respect. But first you have to give yourself the respect that you need, right? So we're going to acknowledge that we're always storytelling. We're going to acknowledge that there is a story that we continue to live in our life as we go on. We're going to acknowledge that. Everybody knows we've told ourselves a story of who we are. This is how I react. This is who I was. This is all because of Jimmy Bumblebee. This happened because of my mom and dad. This happened because of a group of kids after school one day. We take ourselves into the present and realize that when little things happen, it doesn't make you who you are. Your thoughts of that is what makes you who you are. When you're triggered, by something or somebody, when you get an emotional trigger, like that person likes to gossip a lot, or this triggers me, you look back behind that mask, because there's something really within you that it's triggering. And it's not sometimes that person. It's always us we're looking at. It's always us we're trying to change. And you also want to recognize that multiple contradictory stories can exist. Contradictory stories can exist. Like, I am definitely not doing this ever again, but then that one person that meets all the criteria for you to do that, you could do that. What do I mean? Is you might say, I'll never lend anybody money as long as I live ever again, because when you do that, it sucks up, but then somebody meets the criteria of somebody that you would help. Um, so we have to break our own rules, but being in control and being intentional and deliberate is what I'm getting at, is being intentional about our lives. That means that we are going to be aware. We're going to have aware of our values, aware of respect. And there's two ways that you can be living today. And let's look at those. And when we're into week number 2, we are going to be talking mainly and breaking it down into who we are, right? Versus roles. And we're going to, I just want you to, if you removed all the expectations from yourself and others, what would you be if you just removed them all? Let's see why we want to be here. So when you're living by design, which is living a life that you're making deliberate and intentional, it's deliberate, calculated, conscious, it's on purpose, it's intended, right? That means that you're pre-planning and you're available. When I say available, you're available for yourself. See, available for yourself. Live your moments and your feelings. And you can do this through journaling, through choosing, gratitude, align, rest, and peace. The only time sometimes in life when we get upset is because we're not aligned with something. We go to bed and our mind races, is because we're not aligned with something. We have something that's going on. And we have to pay attention right here, especially to our thoughts and our emotions. Remember, your thoughts are creating emotions that create behaviors and physical sensations, right? If you think of something funny, you're going to have an emotion of happiness and giggling, right? And that's going to give you a behavior of acting silly, moving around, and getting out or to help somebody with a physical sensation of energy. When you're happy, it immediately creates energy. But when you're living by default and your days are running together, you don't feel like you have rest, then there's a lot of things that's going on with you that are unintended, accidental, involuntary, you're unthinking, unplanned, unexpected, unforeseen. By chance, unconscious and subconscious, and then there's no time for yourself. That is being unaware and just living on pilot. That's just doing the same thing. I don't know where the last 10 years went. I can't live my life this way. Those are the things. So here's what we have to do. We have to start questioning our beliefs that put us here. We have to start questioning the things in our life and the stories that we told, and we have to rewrite these stories. That's what this is about. So going back into more of week number 2 of living life intentionally, what we're talking about today is, who are you really? And you can't live intentionally if you don't know yourself. So let's get into that right now. So there's roles and there's identity. There's a list, all roles, parents, friends, employees, then list core identity words: being creative, being caring. When you think of that role, what do you think of? When you think of parent, what do you think of? Patient, caring? Or do you think of something different out of that? It's okay, because that's your thought. And what's your current identity story versus your desired identity? How do you see yourself as today versus how you would like to see yourself into the future? Who's controlling your life and your emotions today versus you just wake up and it's by chance. What happens, what happens, it is what it is. I like drama. I do this and that. Are you one of those people that just has to have drama and has to have all kinds of things going behind the scenes? There's people like that, I'm sure, but I don't know. But I would like you to help discover your identity before we get into next week, where we're going to be talking about core values. Because when we have identity, what it's going to take for our identity, this is where we're going to find some of our core values and what's really important about us. Help gain new perspective without shame or guilt. I like that, Alicia. And there's nothing shameful or anything that should make you feel guilty when it comes to yourself. This course is all about being guilt free, about doing things. Hi, Anna. How are you doing? Thanks for coming in here. Appreciate seeing you and everybody else that's in here. Sometimes I get into talking and not reading, and I read some things. But let's be honest about our self awareness. Let's be honest about who we are and what things take. So, a good approach and a healthy approach is we need to acknowledge that we're always storytelling, right? And there's some stories that have been in our head, and we can rewrite it anytime that we want to. And we can question our narratives regularly. And that's where I'm talking about questioning our thoughts, right? We can question that anytime that we want to. Why am I like that? Why do I do that? And we have to stay open to ourselves and find the areas and realize that we're not just characters in the story. And this is important, that we're not just the characters in the stories that we tell ourselves, but we are the author. We're the creator. We're the producer of these stories. And we have the right to rewrite them. We have the right. Thank you for the follow. We have the right to rewrite our stories. When you wake up today and you think it's going to be a bad day and you're dreading work, challenge that thought. Why? Well, because I didn't get a report done. Then why? Because I don't know how to manage time. Then we fix managing time. That's what it's about in here. That's what this is about. We're going to manage time. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix things, because when we fix things and we live intentionally and deliberately, then we are setting ourselves up today to live a better life. It's like saving for your future. Instead of spending so much today, we're going to spend little. We're going to be frugal. So when I'm no longer physically able to work, I have put away some stuff for a rainy day. So we have different narratives. Remember that we were telling ourselves as we were talking about writing our stories. And I asked everybody to write a little story of who you thought you were. And we would talk about some of them today. So we have we have people that write the I'm special story. Many of us maintain a narrative that we're unique, exceptional, and destined for something great. And this can be motivating, but it also leads to disappointment when reality doesn't match our self-concept. And where would that come from? Where would, like, I think I'm great, the best thing that ever, where would that come from? Would you think that that came from their parenting? There's somebody where they parented them that possibly got a trophy for 7th place, 8th place, always got a trophy, that they're always great to build up. And how would be parented in a way that you're great, you're the best person in the whole world, and then you go out into real life, and then you hear real critique, then what happens? How do you rewrite your story? How do you get around that? And that's not funny, because there's people in that situation. So that person is still great, but they have to realize they have to find what they're great at. Okay, so they had a background and a thought, and their cognitive collection of writing things about themselves is that you're great. No matter what you do, you're going to be successful. But we remember, when we come to no matter what you do, you're going to be successful. It has to be something that you like. Look at my example today. I hate my job. Emotion, sadness, frustration, behavior, stay in bed instead. Sluggish, no energy, go to new jobs and hate jobs, right? And then we have the The curated identity story. In the age of social media, we craft polished versions of ourselves, highlighted achievements, happy moments, and successful, while hiding our struggles and failures. That means we're avoiding who we really are, because it's just easier for me to get on my phone, take some pictures of every time I go fishing, or every time I have a nice outfit on, or walk by somebody's Porsche and take a selfie, so people have the impression that I'm living a good life. That way I don't have to avoid and fear with my life. So that person, where did that come from? This is what we're going to break the ice on this, because all of us fall into one of these categories. And then we have the why things happen. Cause and effect stories to explain events. This happened to me because of that. My life is this way because of this bitch I married. My life is that way because my best friend screwed me over. My life is that way because my boss sucks. My life's that way because my neighbor down the street sucks. My life's that way because the guy at the grocery store that checked out my groceries sucks. My life's that way because my barber sucks. So this here is the the why things happen story. And I'm not laughing because there's people like that, but this is happening because of there's a lot of people like that. It's everybody else's fault. 100% everybody else's fault. 100%. And we have one guy who is number one. Thank you for being in here, Mr. Number One. Right? And then we have the I'm not enough story, a story that we tell ourselves. Conversely, we often tell ourselves stories of inadequacy. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not successful enough. I'm not worthy. And all of these, especially when it comes into I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not special enough, that's just not me. Those can become self-fulfilled prophecies. That means that you're going to allow yourself to not feel worthy. It all goes into the thought. Your emotions, you're frustrated. Maybe there's avoidance in your life, right? So sense making, our brains create patterns and explanations for this. They do. Our brains, because we allow them to, are creating expectations, explanations, and patterns. And all the patterns that our brain creates all stem from thought. Your thought is a pattern. So you're thinking one of these, right? You're thinking one of these identity stories. And that's the very fabric of our identity. But we're talking about how to break free from this, right? The thing is, the problem with all this is we confuse our stories with objective truth, that we believe that they're true, that we believe that we're not good enough. We believe that we have anxiety. We believe we might be dying. We believe we might be sick. We believe that all these other people in our life are against us and they're screwing everything up and this is all their fault. Well, sometimes we believe and we have paranoia all through these stories that we're telling ourselves. But we need to break the chain. We had to change that thought. We have to reset ourselves. And we oversimplify complex situations. We confuse correlation with causation, and we remember selectively to fit our preferred narrative. And this is what we do. We totally ignore the obvious because this is what I believe. I am, no matter what you say, not worthy. I am, no matter what you say, hate my job. I am, you don't know me, I know me. This is what we're telling ourselves. This is what you are. You will not be happy in your career. You are always, you were born into this because of your past life. This is your punishment for what you did. So this means that you're functioning, but you're not really experiencing your life if you're talking about that. And to experience your life, you have to get in tune with your thoughts. When you're telling yourself all of that, you're going to get in tune with your thoughts by exercising and writing in your journal, and by exercising and asking yourself some different prompts. So have a pencil. We're going to write some of them down today. I gave these to you on Tuesday. If you were here on Tuesday, um, as stories we tell ourselves, I'm just not that type of person. And how do you believe? Here's a prompt. How do you believe your thoughts are affecting your behavior? If I removed all, here's your prompt. If I removed all expectations, what would I want to be? And one of the things that hold us back is fear of change. I'm really comfortable. I'm staying in this crummy, crappy relationship because, or marriage because of financial comfort, complacency, this and that. So I won't be happy. I'm exchanging my happiness for this. I'm going to be happy or not happy all because of another fucking person in my life because my cognitive lens doesn't see the benefits of peace over material. Peace goes a long way. Having peace in your life over material things, having peace over your life, over thinking that you're going to have peace by avoidance. I'm just going to be peaceful. This is going to happen. This is my life. And I'll give myself a little something here and there. It doesn't. Our actions are going to be more guided in more profound ways because we're going to start challenging our thoughts. We're going to start writing things down. Remember, week 1 last week was all about introducing you to live a deliberate, fascinating life through intentional, through being aware, through not wanting the same old rubbish in your life. So the cognitive lens effect, our beliefs create a cognitive lens and they filter out our reality. We literally see what we expect to see. When you hold a belief, your brain will automatically, listen to this, your brain automatically selectively filters information that confirms what you already believe. It ignores or discounts evidence that contradicts your belief. Can you believe that? This is how hard it is to change our habits. This is why writing, journaling, being consistent, and putting in effort that comes in because your brain's going to ignore or discount evidence that contradicts your beliefs. It's true. It interprets ambiguous situations in ways that align with your existing worldview. So, and all of us know that if you talk to some people, and I don't ever get political in here, but what some people always say about Republicans or what some people always say about Democrats, no matter what, we twist that to that must be that kind of person. That because we're not doing inventory. Stay away from anybody that wants to talk fucking politics. They're typically crazy in their head. For example, if you believe I'm not attractive enough, you'll fixate on a critical comment given to you. Remember the story I was just telling you? I was telling you about the story of somebody going to the party. They're getting compliments on their jewelry, on their dress, on their shoes, on their eyes. And somebody said you had a crooked tooth. It says it right here. You believe I'm not attractive enough. So you're going to fixate on the one critical comment that somebody gives you about your looks. And you feel you're not doing good at your job. Everybody's telling you you're doing good. But you're not doing you're good at your job because one day your boss said to speed it up. Now all of a sudden you're not doing good at your job. All this confirmation bias comes from your self-fulfilling prophecies that reinforce your original belief. The belief and behavior connections, what it's called. You're believing what you're believing all the time, and it's creating your behaviors. So, beliefs about specific outcomes shape our attitudes, which then guide our behavior and our decisions. If you believe exercise leads to better health, you develop a positive attitude toward working out, making you more likely to actually exercise. If you think that, right? That's attitude formation. That's where your attitude has to be formed in order to help change your mind, right? Past behavior is a reference. We often use past actions as a mental shortcut for future decisions. That means this has happened to me in the past. So immediately I got a shortcut because I know fucking everything about this. So I don't need to investigate anymore. If you behaved a certain way before, you're likely to do it again because your brain interprets past behavior as evidence of your belief in precedences. This is where our thoughts that are changing our life. And if you're living unintentionally and not putting intention into your life, then it's your thoughts that will need to be changed. Moral framing. Our moral beliefs dramatically influence how we explain and respond to behavior. It's even showed in studies that people who disapprove of certain actions are more likely to attribute them to external circumstances rather than personal um, problems, essentially creating explanations to preserve things. See, I got an explanation. I got a bad mindset. I got things that I believe that aren't true, and it's everybody else's fault. This is not living intentionally. This here is leaving things to chance. This here is letting my subconscious do all of my daily work. This is why I'm tired. This is why I'm not happy. This is why it's hard to be grateful. This is why I'm living confused. I'm not taking the time to myself to praise the most powerful thing that exists, which is the human mind. And there's one inside your head. Beliefs work through different parts of your brain, and we do know that. And the good news is that patterns in our life are not permanent. This is what I want you to know. This isn't permanent. This is all fixable. Cognitive behavior therapy and mindful practices can help identify automatic thought patterns that drive behavior. Bam. Let's go. Remember, we're talking about who we are today. So, who are you? So, here we are in the week number 2 of who we are. And what I need you to do is take this prompt right now. Just grab this one by the horns. And we're going to talk about our identify automatic thought patterns. What's driving your behavior? That's driving your behavior. What thought pattern drives your behavior? When you're thinking about, I do this a lot, I'd like to change this, what thought pattern? What's happening? I'm 2 days into not smoking because I used a thought pattern that I need to have it after coffee. I need to have to do it after this. I need to have to do it after that. And I have to work on that days mentally without medication. It's hard. Challenge your limiting beliefs with contradictory evidence. Challenging your beliefs with evidence that's true. Contradictory evidence. If you hate somebody, what's the evidence that you have to not hate them anymore? If you don't talk to somebody because you believe something, can you do that? These are just examples. Create new behavior pathways that reinforce healthier beliefs. So, belief behavior patterns are not permanent. Cognitive behavior therapy is breaking the cycle. We can't control everything that happens to us, but we absolutely control how we interpret events. So that's what it's all about. So today's the day. Today's the day, if you're hearing this, today's the day that we're going to change some of our thought patterns. Because as we get into next week on Tuesday into week 3, we're going to be talking about our morals and our beliefs. So we really had to have our self-identity done through this weekend of who we are, what we want to change, and to have a little bit of that figured out now, and then next week having your core beliefs is going to help you start reshaping and reconsidering some of your beliefs. You might actually find out that you like tomatoes. Who knows? But what specific belief or behavior connections have you noticed in your life? And that's one of the prompts. Who am I? What specific patterns have I noticed in my life? What has always been your default? What have you always gone back to? What do you feel comfortable? Where are your fears? Where would you like to be versus where you are? Conquering some fears. The cognitive lens. These are all things that you could look up. What story are you telling yourself? Um, you know, but you're always too busy to feel fulfilled, or you're always too busy to deal with this stuff. You're just got too much other shit going on in life to want to sort some mind-boggling cockadoodle bullshit journaling stuff, because that's what your sister did in high school. and they call it a diary. And sometimes your identity, we need to look at, though, is your fundamental self of your identity, right? The unique combination of your personal traits, your values, your beliefs, and your personal characteristics that make you who you are. It's the answer to who am I? That comes from within. Your identity includes things like your sense of humor, your moral compass, your passions, your personal preferences that distinguish you from others. So, your passions, what you're passionate about, what you're feeling good about, what's making you happen. And some of these habits could be good, some of them could be bad. Some of them accept our thoughts, but we do know that all of our thoughts are controlling our behavior and our emotions and how we feel about ourselves and sensations that we get about ourselves. So it's important because while roles can change throughout your life, you might change jobs, relationships, but your core identity tends to be more stable. You might be a student today, a professional tomorrow, and a retiree later, but your fundamental values and your personality and your character remain consistent. So you have character you want to build that you respect, you confront yourself, you change, you challenge, you talk to yourself about different things. So, people have a role, but that they wear, and let's just say it's written on their hat. But when they take out that hat, and under that hat, and inside that mind is a person, is a human being, and most humans are um, kind. They want to bond. They want to be accepted, and some of them don't feel like they're enough. Like will really sometimes beat themselves up and they don't know who they are because they believe a lot of different things because they've had been fired from jobs, maybe been turned away by family, maybe have had to maybe have had to go out to get aid for different things. These are still good people, and you have to realize if you're somebody that those things has happened to, that that's not who you're always going to be. You have to change some of your thought process and things, and engage into a life that is constantly chipping away at being better. And you're going to do that through changing your thought and your thought pattern. If you live somewhere and nobody comes by and sees you, then you're very lucky. But if you're in a place where not that many people come by or don't see you because you don't agree with something, and your stronghold just defiant on some of the beliefs, open yourself up to some of that. If you don't believe that you're going somewhere after we pass away, if you don't believe in this and that, open your mind up to all the options that exist in the world. Read something new, go for a walk, ground yourself, take time um, to be good to yourself. That's all important. So wake up with intention. Wake up with intentions every day that today's going to be a good day. Today's going to be something that's going to be different. And I'm going to make time for myself. I'm going to put time into my schedule. Um, and I, I don't understand. Take all of this and add in menopause, and your whole thoughts of your life are off kilter. So everything in our life that we feel is off kilter, we can go ahead and fix in any way. It's just all on the way that we're perceiving things. So as we get into next week, we're going to talk about our core values and what truly matters to you. So we want to know this week of who we are and what we're doing. And I'm going to help you discover your core values and you connect your values to your daily decisions. And do you feel that your values align with your daily decisions of what your values are? Some core beliefs that you have. Do you feel that? So if they don't, it's because we have fear of self-expression. We're afraid that our values might contradict somebody else, or we're not doing something because of somebody else. And that's where we become people pleasers, in a way. So the distinction is important to realize that our identity versus who we are and what we do, it's important that what we do and who we are two different things. It's who we are that we're trying to um, become. And when we figure out who we are, then what we do should be different. But what we're going to do is we're going to start challenging some of our thoughts that aren't good, because these thoughts that aren't good are creating emotions, behavior, and physical sensations in our life that we may not want to have in our life. So, on living our life intentionally, we're going to clarify for sure what truly matters to us. We're going to take ownership of our choices. We're going to take ownership of our habits, and we're going to work on the stories that we tell ourselves. And we're going to challenge thoughts that we tell ourselves to change our life through journaling and through writing. And please explain challenging thoughts that are good. A good challenging thought. Please explain challenging thoughts that are good. Well, we're not going to challenge our good thoughts. We're going to enhance, I think, our good thoughts. Could you reframe that differently? Please explain. Please explain challenging thoughts that are good. Well, why would you want to change a challenging thought that is good? I mean, I like it when I have questions. I'll answer. Good morning, boy. How do we challenge thoughts that are good? Why would you want to challenge a good thought? I don't understand why you would want to challenge a good thought. But that, and I'm glad that you're in here and asking. But what we're going to do is we're going to challenge thoughts that we may have thoughts that we believe that are good, but we can get evidence that they're wrong, possibly. And how we challenge our thoughts, and we ask you, and how you would challenge any thought, good or bad. Let me answer that. Is that align with our morals? Does that align with my beliefs? Does that align with my core values? And it is bad thoughts that, and I understand, Scott. I'm glad you're in here. I apologize that I misread that wrong, and I like getting questions. Um, but sometimes challenging anything would be to just clearly ask yourself, does this align with me? You clarify what that thought is, and that you work on it. Um, and does that matter to you? And when we have bad thoughts, we have consistent worry, and we live a life of dread, we might be one of the people that always feel doom. Realize that there's nothing coming to get you. Look at the past. Look behind you sometimes as a reference only of the mountains you've already climbed. You've been through a lot in your life. If you've lived any life, then you've been through a lot and you're going to make it. Um, and here are just some common signs that your thoughts in your life are on autopilot. And I'm telling you, the most common sign is, and what this live is about, is that if you just feel like your days are the same, if you feel you don't do anything on weekends, if you just feel like your life is, I don't want to use the word boring, but if you feel unfulfilled, this is on you. This is nobody's fault but your own. If you're not feeling that, you're not opening yourself up to new ways, new ideas, and new thoughts. And you want to put intention and be deliberate into your calendar. And you have to be careful with people pleasing and doing stuff for people. Have a new sense of making. Um, See, our brains have patterns, and sometimes we realize just out of the blue, like, man, I'm doing the same thing. This is something that I want to do. And we can change our patterns. This is a total fact that we can change the way that we think, the way that we worry, the way that we trust, the way that we love, the way that we go to work. the stories that we're telling ourselves, because we are the author, we're the director. This is our production. Our life is our production. Maybe people challenge good thoughts because they can't accept good things happening to them. And Brian, that's interesting because a lot of people think, why me? There's so many other people that could deserve that. And that person might be the wisest one in the world, because they always say the wisest man in the world is, if he's also good, is going to say, I don't know everything. And there's a lot I want to learn. Remember, we don't have all the answers to everything. And I do this. Why do I do this and get up? Because I need it. I need this in my life. I have to read this stuff. And this is what helps force me to do it. So now I got 12 weeks to search and study on something that I helped to write. And I'm reading things and I'm taking it in. And it makes a difference in my life. It makes a difference in my life when I get in to the into this little studio to listen to some music while I get ready, listen to music. And music is motivating, I think, in life, in your time off, listening to your good song and everything, or waiting for the other shoe to drop. Exactly. And the other thing is about when good things happen in life, that's a blessing. So I would say that that is where we're grateful, and we would ask for more of that. If you feel that if things in your life are happening to you and it's a blessing, and you can ask and pray for more blessings in your life, but you can't get blessings unless you're acknowledging blessings. A lot of us don't realize how good we have it, and gratitude is often overlooked because people focus on what they don't have, and they're always wanting something, right? I struggle with trusting good things. I trust good things, Brian, but you have to be grateful. Gratitude is the number one thing in life. You'll realize if you just wrote down 20 things. Try that. People always like, write down 2 or 3, 20 things. 20 things, man. You'll realize you're grateful for brooms, dustpans, things that make stuff easy, snow shovels, salt, ice melt, food, the oven, your stove, your HVAC, the roof over your head, your pets, your dog, a wagging tail. There's so many things in our life to be grateful for. And when we discount them every day, we don't even know we have HVAC till our heater breaks in the winter, or our air conditioner breaks in the summer. And then when they fix it, we soon forget because we're on autopilot. These are fucking expectations of ours. My house should have air conditioners now, but yet do you service it? Do you change the filter, oil it, and take care of it? Our minds are like machines. Things that we're grateful are like machines. Our minds need fuel. They're just don't run. You got to change the oil. You got to rewrite it. You got to stimulate your mind just like you would your body. If you exercise your body, you eat good food, and this is going to make you healthy. Minds, and by the way, new study shows of why some people look older and some people look younger is that people that look younger when they're older read more. They stimulate their minds more. And they say that that slows down time, and that so living intentional is a good thing because it does slow down the time. If you're wondering, if you thought when you're in first and fifth grade that the summers lasted all the time because you were living intentionally, you're having a good time. Now you're living life as an adult, and it's different. It's different because weeks are passing by because we're not living our life. We're letting life live us. And that's why you think that things just pass by. Be aware of that. If you would like more time on earth and you don't have as much time, if you're in my boat where you're going to be pushing 60 and wondering when my hip's going to break or this or that, I don't worry about that. What I want to do is I want to intentionally make time for myself to be happy, to visit my kids, to do things that I like to do, to be involved in my job, my life, my work. And you know what that usually means? That means that you want to live intentional. deliberately have a good day today. There is no reason, and there's not one person in here, but one reason why they can't have a good day today. And I know that we have losses in our lives and things happen and people leave legacies and reason, but you know for yourself, you can still have a good day. You can still overcome the things that bother you, that have let you down. There's nothing wrong with being lonely. There's nothing wrong with being isolated, but there is something wrong if you don't recognize it. And that sometimes that's right. It's a choice. And you can choose what you want in life. It's all up to you. And if you have one thing you've ever wanted to do, then go do it now. You would want to go do it now. There's something, nothing can be stopping you. Don't have any fears. Do not have fears. The worst thing to have in life is worries and fears. Don't be afraid. What have you got to lose? Nothing. Because if you don't try it, then it still just didn't happen, right? And you got really nothing to lose. I mean, it doesn't have, I think that the greatest thing about life is the worst thing that could happen is we have more insight, right? Now we know a little bit better or a new angle, a way to go at things. I hope everybody is having a good day today and we're being good to yourselves. You know, it's Friday. Enjoy Friday. Plan something for yourself. If you're afraid somebody's going to ask you to do something you don't want to do, remember, I'm busy. I have plans. No is a full sentence. We want to protect our minds, our lives, our pets, and thank you very much for being in here. But we want to protect ourselves. We want to live intentionally today. We want to do things today. Thank you so much. We want to do things today that align with us. Go to bed aligned tonight. Write down some thoughts. What would you like to change? Who are you and what you are? And I'll tell you, I said this last week. This whole board will be changed for next week as we get into our values. So try to have an idea of who you are. And that's okay. Sorry, I can't. Maybe no explanation. That is awesome. I love it. We're learning new, different things. But I don't know about the being apologetic for not being available for somebody. That's really good. I like that. But sorry, I already have plans. And no is the best. No explanation. I love it. But if you can't make it, that's okay. We are here. And anybody that can't make it in here, in my profile, if you hit Linktree and then you go to YouTube, these are all recorded. So if you miss one of these and you want to watch them, you can. Thanks to Brian in here. Brian, who pinned yourself. Brian's a good guy who helps us out, and we like Brian. And I hope everybody has a good day. I'm going to go restart the car and head into DC. Be good and kind to yourself. Have a good weekend. Thanks, everybody, for being here. So all of that is fine. Farm Girl, I'm glad that you're here. Brian, Alicia, Rob, everybody that's in here, I appreciate all of you. And have a wonderful day today and a good weekend.